If you poop and don't flush, you have a floater head. Anyways, Motorhead, are they slop or not? Let's figure out what people are going to think first. We're going to have to figure out what is slop. Second, how do we detect slop? Third, how much of Motorhead's catalog is slop or not? And then fourth, is Motorhead talented outside of that, right? Lemmy, of course. And then finally, we're going to use that to figure out whether you and other people are going to call them slop or not and why. Right? So first, let's start. What is slop? Okay, this is energy, this is catchiness, this is the music matrix. When something's less than a 7 in terms of catchiness, it's called slop. Unless maybe you're a fan of that band or genre in particular, but really, it's slop. Get over it. If it's sufficiently catchy, people call it rock or they call it pop. Now let's get right to it, because energy is easy to figure out. You look at people, are they sleeping? Are they getting tired? Are they winding down for the night? 0 to 3 on energy. If they're dancing, 3 to 7, fireball, bam, and then 7 to 11, mosh pit, fighting, lifting weights, whatever. But catchiness, how do we figure out catchiness and put a number to it? Honestly, because catchiness has a lot of different qualities. A lot of different things go into catchiness, but luckily we have something called the catchiness index that can let us kind of get a good idea of how catchy, roughly speaking, do we think a certain song is, going to be reported to be by different people. How catchy are people going to find the song, right? And so we can kind of look at how predictable the song is on average, right? If there's an element that's really zany and an element that's really predictable, it kind of averages out to like the sweet spot or, being kind of balanced or zany, but it's in the money zone. If something's completely incoherent, makes no sense, you can't even follow what's going on, it's slop for sure. If it's completely corny and it's so boring, it's slop for sure as well. Right, but if it's in the money zone here, it has a chance. It's still going to be slop, for sure. You could have stuff that's like, this thing is completely unpredictable and sucks. This thing is completely corny and sucks, and both of them together doesn't suddenly make it good. It's like, no, it can still suck. But you also now have a higher probability of, well, maybe it's something that fans are going to like, because it's kind of balanced. It's got some things, maybe fans are going to like it, right, in terms of catchiness. But then you also now actually have a shot at making something catchy that people are going to like. So catchy songs tend to occur between Black and Black, and back, in black. You. No, and I'm just a poor boy, don't need no sympathy. Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Mama, ooh. Anyways, so now we have a good idea about that. Hit quality doesn't mean it necessarily became a hit. It just means it had enough catchiness that it could have potentially became a hit if it was played on the radio. Like Ace of Spades is Motorhead's hit, and Hellraiser, all of spell on you. That's hit quality. Down, 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 down. Down here, little rock and roll. Oh, no. So now let's look at the distribution. And oh my heck, this is the drum roll, please. Drum roll. Little bodies at the what you wrong with me? Joe, nothing's wrong with me. Great, nothing's got to flow. Let the bodies hit the floor. Catalog on it, you can see Motorhead is an OnlyFans model. Look, OnlyFans model here is when there's relatively not that. This is about ratio in the catalog. It's like there's not a lot of hit quality songs relative to the total amount of catalog they put out. Now, I think Motorhead actually surprisingly, surprise to some people, Motorhead has a lot of songs that are actually very catchy, not slop, just straight up good rock songs. And most people were surprised by that because you have to listen to the entire catalog to find the songs that are like, oh my God, if you play this for people, they'd love it. But just no one's done that. So that's why there's a lot of hit quality songs that never became hits for Motorhead, in my opinion at least. And I didn't know that. Like if you would have asked me, hey, who's better, Rush or Motorhead? I probably would have been like, oh, Rush is good. But then I listened to both catalogs. Rush's catalog is like this, where it's mostly unlistenable music. There's a little bit of stuff that's good for fans, and there's even less stuff relative to the total amount of albums they put out and songs that's hits. Rush has like maybe 9 hit quality songs, and then maybe like 20 or 30 stuff that's for fans, but they probably have 800 songs that are just completely unlistenable, right? Versus Motorhead has maybe like 20 hit quality songs and 20 just god awful songs, or maybe 40. But like they have like 800 songs that are amazing if you dig the energy level. You're just looking for something that's going to get you going throughout the day, right? Like a quick tangent. I at one point was getting up at like I think like 2 or 3 a.m. every day and working on urine analyzers. You're doing blood tests on people who got their children taken away from Child Protective Services. And so I was working at the company that was contracted to process the urine samples. Not only did I, prior to this position, I was actually having to collect samples from people who had their kids taken away. I was like, sir, I'm going to need to see the dong to make sure it's not a prosthetic dong that you're trying to fake, I need to make sure the collection is valid, okay? So whip it good. Whip it out, okay? Okay, it's like, I'm a heterosexual, but whip it out. You won't see your kids again. No, you don't do that. That's people. That's messed up. But, no, but so I was getting up at like 3 a.m. And this whole thing, my car barely ran. I had oh my God. I was on the freeway. It had no AC. I was in Arizona is where I was living at the time. It was like awful. And the hours were ungodly, but I was like, let me put on Ace of Spades by Motorhead. And I was just listening through over and over and over. And the first run through, I was like, a lot of these songs kind of like, eh. But then the more I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so that's the power of an OnlyFans catalog, right? Queens of the Stone Age. You need to listen to it over and over. Now, they have more hits, so they're like a little bit in between. They're like a hybrid theory, Linkin Park. No, but Motorhead's definitely here. And so now let's get to talent distribution. So this kind of goes down to like, if people just care about, is it a cool t-shirt, a cool brand? Is there a cool mythos to it? And Motorhead kind of has that, but honestly, like, Kim Kardashian's not walking into Walmart being like, wow, that Metallica t-shirt looks really cool. Whatever that Metallica clothing brand is, they're really cool. But I like the Motorhead one better. She's not doing that. But Motorhead does have aura and clout and all these things. So they get a little bit of a green. But mostly it's the musicianship that Motorhead is renowned for. It's the virtuosity of kind of like Lemmy, his distinctness. He's a Les Claypool type figure in the bass community. And the guitar solos and riffs are amazing. Some of the double kick stuff on Overkill, like they're just notorious or revered from musicians for good reason. So they get a green there. So green. And then the songwriting, I say honestly green, maybe yellow green, because some of it you're like repetitive or missed opportunities at some spots when you're listening to it. You're like, if you combine these two songs together and you like used one of the riffs instead of as an entire song, you used it as like the B part, or if there's like an A and a B part in a lot of Motorhead songs, if you just took the A and B part from another song and made it C and D and threw it in a little bit, you would have like banger all-time great song. But outside of that, like still the A and B parts are great. So they do get a green. So because of this, they're pretty good on everything. So most people aren't going to disagree with what I'm going to say because okay. You can tell based off the talent. We're going back to the main chart, but based off the talent, kind of like the talent checklist and the catalog audit, those two things are going to give you an inkling to if people are going to argue about the quality of the band or not, right? Now, we're going to look at this. So most people, when we go back to the main chart, they think, is the band good? Is it bad? Is it slop? Is it not, right? They think the 10 songs they think generally, this is how they actually think, is generally are they good or bad? And what do they think when they're thinking generally? They're like, well, the top 10 songs I remember. Well, which one are those? Well, the ones that you liked. You don't remember the ones that sucked. And so out of the top 10 songs that I liked, unless they really suck, then you might remember them. But the top 10 songs that I like, what do I think about them? So I put mine here. But first, let's look. You're like, controversy, why is it not low? Why is it not high? Why do they put a dash in the middle? It's because though they're talented here, no one's going to argue about the talent. Their catalog looks like that. So most people have never heard any songs from Motorhead that they liked. You know what I mean? Most people just haven't heard them. Most people haven't heard it. And if they did hear like Ace of Spades, it wasn't cool enough to them. Like maybe it's an 8. I put it at a 9. To me, it's 9, right? But maybe to most people, it's an 8. So they didn't listen to enough to get that, like, no, there's a lot. There's a lot of good stuff. Right? So because of that, like when I just talk to people, they don't know. I show them, I'm like, oh, have you heard Loser and this one? And my brother's like, that's one of the greatest songs ever. I'm like, no one's heard it. No one's heard these songs, right? So, I mean, not Okay, if you're clicking on a Motorhead video, you probably know them. Okay. But Ace of Spades. The only God I need is the Ace of Spades. Hellraiser. And then off kill. All right now. And then 3 o'clock in the morning, sugar. And are you sleeping? They must be sleeping. Why don't you let me in and get yourself some original sin? You're laying down. Get up instead. Or wait. Don't get up. Get down instead. Something, I don't know. Live to win. And killed by death. And I'm a loser. I'm gonna make you shine. And back at the funny farm. And what is this? Shoot you in the back. Down, 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 down. But yeah, on average, they're 7.6 on energy. So it's like kind of punky, getting into metal. This is where, you could call, because they're in this range, that's where people would be like, Motorhead are like proto-metal, right? They're like inspired thrash metal, most of thrash metal being like in this range, right? So it's just like, yeah, it makes sense that they're like here, right? That kind of makes sense. And then 8.5, because I'm picking their catchiest songs, right? Some of these are 9s, some of these are 8s. To me, other people might move it slightly back, but if you're going over here, so kind of like proto-metal, let's say, right? This range would be proto-metal, 7 to 9. The proto-metal, which lines up with what you'd expect, right? And then I put them at 8.5, and you expect people to call them, at least for Ace of Spades, you call it like, okay, it's kind of proto-metal-y in terms of energy, but rock song. And so maybe proto-metal plus rock. That's what people would call it, right? And so that lines up. I think they have a bunch of songs that are kind of in that same range of catchiness and energy as Ace of Spades. Then you might pick some songs that move them slightly over here, slightly less catchy, but maybe a little more energy, or maybe a little less energy, something in between, something in that triangle there. But that's kind of where Motorhead end up. So in general, most people are going to call them rock. But the reason there might be some controversy, some people might call them slop because they just think they're here and they haven't heard the songs that are here. Because you have to find them too. You do have to find them. They might just say, it's too borderline. I'm going to go in slop. They don't have any hits. I don't recall any hits. Or I recall one hit. So I'm going to go with slop. So most people are going to say slop who don't listen, who have never heard Motorhead. Anyone who has over the course of a week said, let me find some Motorhead songs I like, they're going to say that Motorhead are rock and not slop. People who just osmosis haven't heard Motorhead much, even if they're rock fans, are going to call them slop. So that's kind of the breakdown. Depending on which one you are, you're going to call them rock or slop, right? And so, yeah, so I think they're rock, though, because I've listened to Motorhead to make the video, but also I haven't listened to Motorhead, because I was like, why does everyone like them so much? There's got to be something here, right? Same with David Bowie, I did that, right? And I was like, oh, it's because the top 10 songs are so good, even though he is mostly garbage. Those songs that are good are so good that people like them. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. I think it might be... What do the next video on? Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Motorheading your girl. What did I say? Floater instead. If you poop in a toilet and don't flush, it's a floater head. I'll see you next video. Bye. Like, comment, bye.